Welcome to Spiritual Cooking, foods to enhance your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Today we're going to be making my vegan Spelt zero sugar apple pie. To begin with, you're going to need 3 cups of whole spelt flour. You're also going to need 1 tablespoon plus 1/4 of a teaspoon baking powder. You're also going to need 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. That covers your dry ingredients. For the wet ingredients, you're going to want 7 tablespoons of coconut oil, plus some for brushing the pie later, 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of agave nectar. Blue agave is always the best because it has the lowest glycemic index as far as agave goes. You're also going to want 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract and 3 to 4 tablespoons of cold water. You're going to start by mixing all of your dry ingredients together. So the flour with the baking powder with your salt. So you're going to mix that together just until it's well combined. Then you're going to add your coconut oil. Coconut oil is one of the best things for your body on the face of the planet. As far as oils go, I think it is the most beautiful, energetic oil that there is. So, you're mixing in your coconut oil and your agave nectar. And we can't forget our vanilla. So we start by mixing those together. You'll start to see sort of a very moist dough formed. And at this point, you can add your water. This is the point at which I like to get in there with my hands. I feel like you should have contact with your food. It makes the experience of cooking just that much more intimate. So once you have this dough formed into the type of consistency where it will form a ball, you want to shape just a round ball in your hands with the dough. And then you want to take some of the spelt flour that we reserved for dusting and dust it over a piece of saran wrap, plastic wrap. So then you lay the dough down in the middle and you want to wrap it up really airtight. And you want to put it in the refrigerator for 20 minutes. Meanwhile, you can heat your oven to 425 degrees. Alright, now it's time to make our filling for our apple pie. Pie is my #1 favorite food on the face of this earth. I think there could not be a more perfect food than pie. So to begin with, for this recipe, you need 4.5 cups of peeled, cored, organic apples. In my personal opinion, Granny Smith apples are the very best. They tend to bake up very tender, but still with that very sharp apple flavor, which we're all looking for. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a dash of salt, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 3/4 cup of agave nectar, 1.5 cups of applesauce, and 3 tablespoons of minute tapioca. Minute tapioca is really easy to find in the baking aisle of basically any food store. You also want to be using your blue agave again for this agave nectar if you have access to it. And make sure that your applesauce does not have a sweetener in it like sugar. We want the pure applesauce with nothing added. It's my personal opinion that when you're baking, it's really important to deal with all your dry ingredients first and then your wet ingredients. That being said, when you're dealing with a filling, it doesn't really matter. So whatever you feel inspired to do this way in terms of what ingredient to add first or second, go ahead. Oh, I should add at this point that you want your apples, can you zoom in on my hand? You want to cut your apples so that they're these very thin, chopped pieces. That way when you bake them, you're not going to bite into anything that's still crispy, which I personally don't like in an apple pie. You want to do just the same thing you did with the first ingredients that when you were making the crust, and just mix it up until it's completely well combined. So once you're done mixing the ingredients for the pie filling, you can set this aside and you can wait until your pie crust is done chilling, and then we'll be back to roll out the pie crust. Our pie crust has been chilled in the refrigerators sufficiently. So now you can start by unwrapping it from the saran wrap. And you want to put it on a piece of parchment paper. I think parchment works best for rolling out dough. Sprinkled with a bit of spelt flour. So you want to roll out this dough until it's an even 1/4 inch thickness. This is a pretty standard measurement to see. Once you have your pie crust rolled out to a 1/4 inch thickness, like so, you want to transfer this pie crust into your pie tin, which is always a makeshift process. Don't believe anybody that says that cooking isn't humorous. So you'll see these little pieces on the side falling off. Just scoot them to the side and reserve them because they're going to be going on top of the filling. Your dough is not going to be sticking together completely. You'll see all these cracks in it, and so what you want to be doing is pressing it against the side just to seal up all those holes. That's because the filling that we have is a very moist filling, so you don't want it to leak through and get in between the crust and the pie tin. Now you take your filling and you just pour it right inside the pie. When you go to the store, I'm sure that many of you remember going to the store and buying those incredibly bad for you sugary pies that they sell there, but they always had that fabulous consistency to it. We're going to achieve that same consistency by using the applesauce and the tapioca. So when the tapioca is cooking in the oven, it's going to form these little granules which will taste like perfect gelatinized pie filling. So once you have your filling in the pie, you want to just gently fold over the overlapping sides of this pie. We're going for a very rustic looking pie on this one. And if any of these pieces fell off in the transfer process, you just press them lightly with your fingers like this and then lay them around the sides of the pie. So you're looking to cover about a 2-inch space from the edge of the pie tin to the pie filling. So the center is going to be just exposed to the heat of the oven. Spelt flour is one of the oldest flours in the world. It's also one of the best for you as far as the wheat variety of foods are concerned. But because it is a whole type of a wheat product, it's got a very great tendency to dry out in the oven. So what you're going to do before you put this pie in the oven is you're going to take a pastry brush and you're going to dip it in your coconut oil, and you're just going to lightly brush the outsides. This will help the dough to stay moist, and also it'll help it not to burn, because this pie bakes for a pretty long time as far as pies go. We're just looking for a thin coating, so you don't have to go nuts on this one. This pie looks so beautiful, I'm having a hard time not wanting to just dive into it right now. Alright, so now your pie is ready for the oven. We're going to put the pie in the oven at 425 degrees for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to decrease the oven heat to 350 degrees, and we're going to leave it in the oven for 30 minutes. Okay, and I'll join you again when the pie is out of the oven. Welcome back. So now that the house smells completely marvelous, we're going to see how our pie turned out. Look at that crust. Alright, now that your pie is out of the oven, it is time to put the final touch on your pie, which is to take your pasty brush again and dip it in some of the blue agave and just lightly brush it over the crust. This adds that final hint of perfect sweetness that you're looking for in your classic homemade rustic style apple pie. But it's healthy for you, and none of the sugar, and it's vegan. Highly spiritual, healthy dessert, if I say so. Yeah. Once you're done brushing it with agave, you want to just leave it on the counter for at least 15 minutes before you cut up and serve it. It's really good with ice cream. You can do your ice cream with coconut milk if you make it that way. I'm pretty sure in the future I'll be doing a recipe on how to make ice cream vegan and sugar-free as well. I hope you enjoy this recipe as much as I do.